Hey there, property people. Welcome to the Regional Property Show, where we discuss topics designed to educate and inform listeners on how to get the most from their real estate experience in the Ballarat and surrounding areas. My name is Stu Brien, and I'm a licensed real estate agent and the owner of Stone Real Estate Ballarat. We're part of a large network of offices throughout Australia with a dedicated team servicing the Ballarat and surrounding community. If you would like to contact our office to discuss anything related to residential sales or rentals, you can call us on 5341 2200 during business hours, or just Google Stone Real Estate Ballarat. That's Stone, S-T-O-N-E, Real Estate Ballarat. In this episode, I sit down with Nick Cronin from Style Fox Property Staging to discuss everything relating to styling and staging a property prior to going to market. Nick started his journey into staging about 3.5 years ago and has grown his business year on year, even during some of the more challenging real estate conditions. We cover his journey into the industry, understanding the staging process, why you would stage your property and its benefits when it's not worth doing, and how it compares to virtual staging. Stay tuned until the end because Nick is going to cover a new service that he's bringing to the market. Let's crack on in. So welcome to Nick Cronin from Style Fox, who is a local staging and styling specialist for the real estate industry, mate. And we've done a lot of work together over the journey. So when I started thinking about the sort of things that we could talk about when it came to helping people prepare their properties for sale, staging is one of those things that came up in the forefront of my mind. And of course, you were the guy. You know, we've been working together so much over the journey. So thanks so much for coming in. I really appreciate it. It's good to have you face to face in the makeshift studio. Has a thumbs up to the camera. I think it'd be great to get a bit of an idea as to the background and kind of what drew you into this, because this is kind of not something that was your forte originally, was it? No. Give me a little bit of the backstory.
No, it wasn't. Well, I worked in a completely different industry, in emergency services for 13 years. We actually sold an investment property and had it staged. And when we got it staged, we looked at it and went, this is a cool idea and a cool concept. And so that's sort of how it started, did a bit of research and sort of dove right in. And now it's nearly it'll be 3 years in April.
3 years.
Yeah. Okay. So you were one of the first agents that sort of got us to do some work, and that's nearly 3 years ago, Stu. So, that's how we sort of got into it. And it's built from there, like everything, you started, build it up, and that's where we are now,
When you kind of launched into doing this, like, did you kind of know what you were getting into, like in terms of the commitment around it? Because it's launching any business is pretty full on. I know, what it's like, having done it myself. What were some of the surprises that came out as a result of this exercise?
Yes, a lot more costs than you could imagine. Obviously, purchasing all the furniture and decor is the cost that you immediately think of, but then there's so much more when you've got a warehouse, even down to your shelving and packaging and all that sort of stuff.
So you actually store all your own stuff?
We've got a warehouse. Probably, I think we're up to about probably 12 large houses worth of stuff that we've got, and that's doubled in the last 12 months. So we've sort of really grown quickly and continue. That's the plan, to continue to grow and be able to do more. So,
and the warehouse is here in Ballarat, isn't it? Yeah. So it's predominantly the Ballarat market.
Yeah, Ballarat. We've been as far as Maryborough a few times. We were looking at possibly going into Bacchus Marsh area, but there are some styling companies there already.
Yeah.
But mainly Ballarat. There is enough sort of work here until we sort of expand more and we can offer more. We could probably spread out a bit more, but
So the thing for the benefit of people who might be either listening or watching this, so let's talk through, if they haven't sort of come across staging or styling, they're not quite sure what it is. Can you give them a bit of an overview?
Yeah, so we can come into a vacant house. Most of them are vacant, and come in with our stylist. I've got a stylist that works for me. She's fully qualified. She's very good at what she does. She'll come in and we will plan it all out of what we would put in each room. And we will go back to our warehouse, plan it all out, load our truck, and then on the install day, we'll come in and install it. And it might take half a day. So what that does for a client is it changes the property to be presented from being vacant to being, nicely staged. If you think about the display home,
Mm.
You know, when you go and look at display homes, they're very nicely set out.
Yep.
So that's the sort of idea around it, is you want your house to look like a display home for a period of time while you go to market. So that's the idea, and the process is pretty straightforward. It's not a difficult process. As you know, like you can give me a call and say, hey, Nick, what can you do with this? We'll figure it all out, let you know what it will cost. And we'll go from there. And
you generally, is it only with vacant properties, but have you ever worked with properties where the people are either living in it or potentially it's a deceased estate or something like that, and there's some furniture left over and so on? Do you mix and match?
Yeah, we do mix and match. We've done a few jobs like that. Like I said, majority of them are vacant, but we can do that. With that, there's a little bit more involved. You know, you do have to sort of go in and have a really good look at what's already there. And sometimes you might have to suggest, okay, you might need to remove that, because we can bring something in might be a bit smaller, make your room look bigger. But we can do that. Like, and if people are living there, we can also do that. So like bedding, like if we don't dress up a bed, we will dress it up.
Okay.
And then we will tell the person, okay, this is what it's to look like.
Yep.
Obviously, when you sleep in it, you use your own bedding and you just remake it back when it's an open house or photos.
And I have seen situations where even the lighting has been added, lamps and things like that. Is that also part of the package?
The whole everything you could probably think of, instead of like your cutlery and your plates and stuff. You know, that's in your clothes. You don't have that. Like, it's just what you basically see if you went into someone's house. What you see is sort of what we provide, and we keep it very sort of minimal, because I mean the idea is we want to create a bigger space, like make it look bigger, like your house, not well sort of laid out.
How does that happen? Like, how is that? Like, a house is a house, the room's a room. How does furniture, in the house, in the rooms, how does that make a room look bigger?
Well, the way that you sort of lay it out, if you think about, if you walk into, say, a lounge room, and if your couch is sort of across the walk-in part, it kind of shuts off the room and makes it feel smaller. But if your couches are positioned where you can just sort of walk in and out through the whole room, it creates a much more open feel, and which sort of gives the illusion that the room is more spacious than it is. And it's the same with the bedroom. You might have a 3x3 metre bedroom, which is kind of standard size in a modern sort of house now. You can put a single bed in there and look huge, but if you put a queen in there, it can look cramped. So you've got to really, depending on what your robes are like and whatnot, you can use a double bed, and it might, in a photo, people look at the photos online and they might say, oh, this looks huge, this bedroom.
Yeah.
And then they'll come and have a look and they'll be like, oh, this looks really good. We could do this. We could use this.
So it's kind of what you're saying is room appropriate furniture.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Blinds? Do you get involved in that sort of thing?
No, not so much blinds.
Yes.
Anything that's sort of going to be a permanent thing, we sort of leave. I have had a couple of jobs where I've taken them down.
Oh, okay.
Where you look at it, you go, oh, it's your personal view is like, I'd hate to put my stuff in here and someone come in and go, oh, look at that.
I'll get to that in a couple of seconds, because one of the things I'm always curious about is, like, are there times where it's just not worth it? But we'll cover that in a couple of seconds. The thing I really want to touch on, I think it's what the majority of people who would be listening to this would be interested in as well, is what's the benefit? Like, why would you do it? Like, what's the upside? Because it's not without cost, as everything in life. But if I'm someone thinking about selling my investment property, for example, or rental property or something, or I've got a family member that's passed away and I just want to present it to the marketplace, why would you go about engaging someone like StyleFox, for example, to do furniture placement, staging and so forth, as opposed to just selling it vacant?
Yeah, well, you've got to think about attracting buyers. If you want the best price, you need to attract buyers. And when you list your property online, there could be 20 listed that week, and you've got to stand out. 2 opportunities to make a first impression. That's how I look at it. And one's online, and if your photos that look really nice and well presented, it looks like that display home look, that's likely going to get on their shortlist.
Yep. And
then when they turn up to the property, again, you've got another opportunity for first impression when they actually get there and they walk in and go, oh, this looks amazing. They get that emotional connection. As a real estate agent, but that's like, people emotionally connected to a property, then they want it. And when you want something and someone else wants it, you can get a higher price. So the advantages of doing it, you've got 2 advantages one, you've got your best opportunity to get a higher sale price. You're giving yourself the best opportunity. And the other one is time. And people don't really think about their time. With this, you can get a quicker sale. So if you don't stage it, it takes 2-3 months to sell a house, you've got holding costs. If it's a vacant property, if it's an investment, you've got no one in there, you've got holding costs for 2 or 3 months. Yeah. Whereas, you stage it and it sells within the 4 or 6 week period that it's staged. Yeah. And, that moves on quicker. You save money that way as well.
So that's kind of the next question I was going to ask is, when do you stage? Like, what's the right time to do the staging, and how long does it last for?
Yeah, well, we offer, you can have whatever you want, however long you want, but we offer standard sort of packages, which are 4 weeks or 6 weeks. And at the moment, with the market the way it is, like, people generally go for 6 weeks, and I'll sort of suggest that. That is better value for money as well.
Yeah.
So that's what we offer in time-wise. When you should do it, we will coordinate with yourself as an agent and your photographer. So we try and get in there and do it the day before.
The day before?
Day before a photographer, or the morning of, if you're going to do a twilight shot or whatever in the afternoon. And that way, it's the most efficient way of getting it all done and get your listing within a week.
How long does it take you to bump in for a sort of styling and stuff?
Yeah, we can plan out in 2 or 3 hours and load a truck, and then can go and do an install.
Do you do removal jobs as well?
Yeah, that's not my favourite part of the job.
I was going to say, I know some people will probably use those services, especially if you're that quick.
Yeah, look, there is a knack to it. When you do something that many times, it's just like when we first started, it took 2 days to do a job.
Right.
It took a full day to plan it and figure it all out. And now it's very efficient. Now it's sort of really refined the process, and got a small truck. We've got our own truck, so we sort of load it and off we go and put it all in the rooms. We've got, a bit of a process. I'll move it in, and my stylist, she'll set it all up while I'm sort of doing everything. And we can set up in 2 hours, 2.5 hours.
And I'm presuming you on your website, you've got things like, before and after shots and so forth that people can check out when...
I've got plenty of sort of portfolio stuff, like everything sort of that we have, the style of furniture we use, and we've positioned ourselves sort of more of a modern sort of contemporary sort of a look, purely because the majority of work is in that area. Yeah. So,
look, let's for the sake of transparency here, Style Fox is not the only company that does this sort of stuff.
There's quite a few stuff.
There's a few people that do it, and this is more about the merits of of the concept than it is about your specific business. But a rising tide floats all boats. So at the end of the day, I think, from a real estate agent's perspective, we definitely notice that there is a higher level of inquiry for properties that have staged furniture through it and it's been styled appropriately. And it's hard to quantify whether or not it's adding a specific value, but I'd be very surprised because you'd either have to sell it without the furniture or sell it and then sell it with the furniture. And of course, who's to say that it would have sold for more anyway because of the time difference and so forth. But what's anecdotally your kind of experience and the feedback that you're getting from various agents and vendors that have used the service?
We tend to get a lot of very positive feedback. I think I ran the numbers at the end of the year for last year, and I think we almost did 70 properties for the year, and I had a quick look through, and I would say that 90% of those sold, and a lot of those would have sold in the styling period. So, I mean, that's a time measurement we can have on it.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's hard to quantify. The monetary side of things because you don't really know what it would have sold for without the furniture. But across the industry, there is numbers that get sort of floated around, sort of 7.5 to 15%. You can get that sort of range.
So just to put some context to what you just said, if the styling period or the staging period is for say 6 weeks, that's effectively 45 days. The current days on market's around about 65 to 70 in Ballarat.
Yep.
So, already that's demonstrating the significant proportion of those that you're talking about that have sold. have actually sold inside the average days on the market. Yeah. And that's all you can really ask for, is to perform at the average or better at the end of the day. So there's clearly, and if you're working on the basis that a high proportion of the properties that were staged have actually sold, then clearly there's an upside there, because the industry standard wouldn't be that, to be honest. So there's quite a lot of properties that have hit the market and come off the market because it just hasn't been they haven't hit the numbers that they were hoping for. So that's a feather in your cap, I guess. So from that perspective,
look, I mean, of course I'm going to say it works, but it actually does work. Like it really does.
Well, there wouldn't be a demand for it if it didn't.
That's exactly right, and it's growing. Like if you go into the cities, in the major cities, like they say you'd be mad to list a house that's vacant down there. So it's sort of now filtering through to places like Ballarat.
There are some agents in some of the capital cities that I've heard of that they actually won't list a property unless it's like whitewashed and staged.
Yep.
Like that's the way it's got to be presented for sale. And we're talking, millions and millions of dollars worth of, value to their, to the property. So I think Ballarat's a different market to that, but I think we're getting to a point of sophistication around the way properties can be presented to the marketplace. And I think, and I have seen examples of vendors moving out of the property, having their property staged, and, just simply coming back to, clean it up every so often. And the place looked amazing. Yep. Like it was fantastic. I touched on this earlier, and I guess, this is kind of the other side of the coin. Mm-hmm. Have there been occasions where you've gone to places and you've just said to either the agent or the vendor, look, it's just not worth it?
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. There's been quite a few. And
what would that look like in terms of, what have been the experiences that you've seen, or the what you've come across to say, listen, this is probably not going to get the level of uplift that you're hoping for?
Yeah, look, I think the majority of them, from my perspective, are either knockdown renos, development opportunity properties. So when you go in and you can see straight away, like, that, this needs a pretty big reno.
Yep.
So the potential buyers of that property are going to be, builders or, people that flip properties.
Yeah.
And they're going to come in, and what are they going to want to see? They don't even see the furniture.
Yeah.
Because they're professionals at what they do. So if you've really got to think about who your buyers are.
Hey there, thanks for tuning in. This won't take a second, I promise. I just want to do a quick promo for an upcoming episode. I recently interviewed a former FIFO worker who's bought over 25 rundown homes, done them up, and sold them for 5- and 6-figure profits, all in the space of a few years. Here's the thing. He doesn't do any of the renovation work himself, and he reckons anyone can do it, if you know how. To get notified of future episodes like that one, search for the Regional Property Show on your favourite podcast directory, like Apple Podcast, YouTube, or Spotify, and follow the show. Also, we're trying to educate as many people as possible on real estate issues, so if you know someone in the Ballarat region who might benefit from the information in this episode, please share it with them. Thanks again. Yeah.
And there's been other examples, sort of kind of relating to your question of clients request a certain type of style in their house. And I've had this a couple of times, and it's like, that's well and good. You can request that. That's fine.
Yeah.
But we will.
You mean like period style? Or,
yeah. So I'll give an example. So I had one that said, we really want a Hampton style. I think he said, my wife really likes Hamptons. We want a Hampton style. I went, okay, yep.
Next to Brighton and Melbourne.
It's all right. Which is predominantly white, right? It's very bright.
Yeah.
And his property, the walls were yellowy cream colour.
Okay.
So like I said to him, I said, look, we can do it, but you're not appealing to the most buyers for your property. I know it's your personal preference and style, but we're not trying to appeal to you. You already own the property.
Yeah.
We're trying to appeal to people that want to buy this from you.
Yeah.
And once I sort of said that, it's like, good point.
Yeah.
So, this is what we do, and we've done plenty over the last 3 years.
Yeah.
So I think when you contact any of the companies in Ballarat or anywhere, you just got to trust in that they kind of know what they're doing. You're trying to attract the most buyers.
Yeah. And I guess that's one of the reasons we love working with partners like yourself, because, and I'm speaking from my own organization's perspective now, and that's that when you've got the integrity to be able to say, listen, thanks. I know it sounds like a great idea to you, but it's probably not going to work for you. And we're better off sort of stepping back from that situation because you know what, we don't have the right sort of furniture that's going to suit that particular place and so forth. And, you want to work with people that want to work with you, but also you've got to be able to help them. And if you can't help them, you've got to be brave enough to say, listen, I'm sorry.
And I've done that a couple of times with period homes. Like I said before, we're more sort of modern, more temporary, and then we'll get an inquiry for a period sort of home. We'll go and have a look and we don't really have the right stuff for this. Yeah. I'll just have that honest conversation that we don't, but some of the other companies do. And I've referred a couple of jobs through to some of the other companies in Ballarat because I know that they've probably got some stuff that's more suited if they really want to go with styling.
Yeah.
So that's, like you say, you've just got to be honest, and it's about getting the best result for them. So
virtual staging. This is something that I've seen a little bit, and I think it's something that seems to happen interstate a bit, but I've only seen it, a couple of times locally. What is it? And what are, what are the pluses and minuses, I guess, and the pros and cons?
So virtual staging, pretty much you get your photos done with a vacant house, and then they'll come in later on and put virtual furniture into your photos.
Right.
It's a couple of years ago when they started really sort of doing it, you look at it and go, oh, that looks so fake. Like you could really tell. It's gotten a lot better, but I mean, I can still tell.
Yeah.
Probably because I'm in the industry and I look at this stuff all the time. So it's getting a lot better. And the pros of it are obviously it costs a lot less than physically putting furniture in there. The turnaround time might be quicker than staging. Look, I don't think it'd be that much quicker because you've still got to get your photos done and it's post photos and it needs to be done, whereas the staging sort of gets done beforehand. So like I said, we can do a full job in a day, really, if we wanted to plan and install in one day. I think if you send it off to get virtually staged, it'd probably take, maybe half a day. So it's not probably that much quicker.
Yeah.
So they're probably the pros. Cons, again, I can tell that it's not real.
Yeah.
A lot of people might not be able to. Like it is getting quite good. But the biggest con for me is when you turn up, that first impression, you think, if you actually think that that's what's in there and you turn up and you walk in, it's like, oh. So that first impression is sort of, like, this is not what I expected, and that's not what you want. You want people to come in and go, yes, amazing.
I think that dissonance that's created between the first impression and the expectations, I guess, and the delivery can create some gaps in, people feel as if there's, not that, we're not dissing the virtual staging companies or organizations that choose to use that, but it does, I get a sense that there's sort of some manipulation or deception that's going on in relation to how the property actually is. Yep. And, we know buyers hate that sort of stuff, hate that situation where they walk through to something and see photos and they don't reflect accurately what the property is.
Yep.
And that could just be, a perception on their behalf. But at the end of the day, there's people just want a level of accuracy as best they possibly can. So
that's right.
Yeah.
And like that's, again, like coming back to when they're actually there and they're looking on sort of in a room and they've already seen a room that's had furniture in it, virtual furniture. Yeah. And then when they're there and they're like, they're trying to work out how they're going to do this, like how they would fit in there.
Yeah.
Whereas if you've got things in there already and it's laid out by someone who's, fully qualified in this and does this for a living, like that's, you can buy your own house and get someone to come in and do styling for your own house.
Yeah.
Whereas this, you can go, oh, this we could set it up exactly like this. And I think, again, back to the emotions of the buyer, we could just move in here and we could set it up like this and it'd be amazing.
The thing that really sold it for me when we first started working together was it was a house that we staged. And I think you remember this was almost a bit of a case study that we did, which was the house was on the market for probably about 4 weeks without furniture in it. And then you staged it and went and took some extra photos. And so we could see the before and after scenario. And we had it, I think it only took another 2 or 3 weeks to sell inside the range. And we couldn't get an offer on the property. And this was 2020. Market was going nuts and it was just sort of going bananas. So that was I suppose the sealer from my perspective in terms of our experiences when it came to the staging side of things. And I think people, want to get a feel for what the difference can look like, they should go to your website and check out those differences. And that would make it'd help them understand the points of difference. Do you do anything else? Like, is there do you offer just a general styling service for people, or help them, prepare a house in that sort of way?
Funny you say that.
Oh, okay. Now this wasn't a lead-in, so I guarantee you.
And this is something that I've been speaking with Eileen, my stylist. Obviously, because she's the one who's going to do the sort of consulting. This is something we're looking at offering this year. Right. In and offering it. It's really more, it's going to help the clients, but also help the agent. So it's something that your agent can go to a prospective client and say, hey, we've got this we can do, and they can come in, even if they've got their own furniture, we might offer to come in there, do a free consultation just of what you've got and just say, this is what you can do with your property.
Amazing.
And a lot of the times, I might go in there and say, look, you might need to remove some stuff, and it can be quite daunting when it's your own stuff and people are coming through and saying, I'd take that down. There's some sentimental value there. And
Nana's old sort of nightstand, sitting there. It's it's got some.
We've had a few properties like that. So we've gone in and it's just, it might seem brutal, but it's well, your goal is to sell and it's to look as good as possible. So just, take it down, put it away for a month, and let's get a result.
Cool. Excellent. All right. So how can people find you? What's the best way for them to reach out?
Look, we've got a website, stylefox.com.au, and a lot of our sort of stuff goes through Instagram. Sort of feeds into Facebook as well. But that is also on the website. But
cool.
Instagram, it's just sort of where everyone sort of goes for pictures and videos and all that sort of stuff now. But look, if anyone wants to reach out, just have a chat and point you in the right direction. And even if it's not for you, when you mentioned, do we do anything else? So we ourselves don't offer anything else, but we've got people we work with. You've got cleaners, gardeners. We've got a guy who does pressure cleaning. Which can be a big thing for first impressions, like your driveway and gutters and all that sort of stuff. So
amazing.
We've worked with people like that. So it's great. We can push you in the right direction. And cool. But I'm happy to chat to anyone. And it's like you said before, it's about sort of raising the awareness that this is something that, can help you. It can really help you to get a better sales result. So
cool. We'll link all of that stuff in the show notes so people will be able to find you without too much trouble. Appreciate you coming in today, mate. It's no
worries.
I know it hasn't been too arduous. I know you're a bit nervous about sitting in front of the camera. You've done a great job, mate. It's just a casual chat. So thank you again. And what we'll do is we'll make sure that everyone's got information in the show notes and they'll be able to check out what Nick does at StyleFox. Thanks, mate. Take care.
Thanks, Stu. Appreciate it.
If you have a friend or family member that you feel might benefit from some of the information that you've just heard, then it would mean the world to us if you could share this episode with them personally. Oh, and one last thing before you go. We have some really interesting topics planned for the upcoming episodes, so if you have any comments, feedback, or real estate topics that you'd like covered, I would love to hear from you. So please reach out to us via email, which is info@regionalproperty.show, or leave us a note in the comments section. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button to be notified when new episodes are released. I'm Stu Brien. Thanks for listening.